Hey, hey, hey. Time for another Out of This World story from rSpace. When you're deeply invested in someone, it's hard to believe they'd betray you. You think you're just being paranoid, or maybe it's just a phase. Today on rSpace, love, trust, and years of shared memories should count for something, right? Cheating wife thought I'd never check her phone. Now she's blocked from every account and sleeping on her mother's couch. Before I start, let's just get all this out of the way. Some people will say I should have seen the signs earlier. I did, but I rationalized everything. Blind trust, she's the love of my life, and all that. If you think I'm stupid for taking so long to figure it out, just imagine how dumb I felt when I realized it was pretty much happening right under my nose. If I sound depressed or self-loathing, it's because I am. My whole life flipped around overnight, and I don't know what tomorrow is going to look like. It's a miracle that I can still function enough to write all this out. My 31 male wife, Diane, 29 female, has always been the focal point of my life. Ever since we got married 4 years ago, life has been a series of sacrifices that I made for her. I took on extra hours just so she could switch careers when she was dissatisfied. We moved to a part of town that I wasn't too keen on, just so she could live closer to her mom. I can't say exactly when I noticed the signs. It all came about gradually, I guess. The first thing I can remember is her trips to the grocery store. In the division of labor of our marriage, groceries had always fallen to me. It was my favorite chore, honestly. Driving clears my head. But maybe 4 months ago, she started volunteering to get groceries herself. It was odd, but not a red flag by any means. What was odd was that she always forgot to get something from the store. Always. I thought there was a reasonable explanation. She'd always been forgetful. Surely that had to be it. Then the grocery trips started becoming more frequent. They went from about 3 times a month to once a month. I think they were supposed to say once a week. And finally, to twice a week. And I still didn't figure it out. I blamed her forgetfulness again. And she always took so long, too. That struck me as odd because I could spend 30 minutes to an hour on a trip. She always took around 2 hours. I thought that it just had to do with the old stereotype about women taking forever to shop. When I asked her, she would laugh and claim that she was just a slow driver. I didn't really start to put it together until the classic signs started showing up. I don't remember when it started, but at some point I realized we weren't intimate anymore. We didn't hug or kiss, and we definitely didn't have sex anymore. It almost felt like I was living with a roommate. And then there was her phone. The dang thing was always glued to her hand. She was constantly typing away and laughing into her screen. I ignored it at first, until she started pulling out her phone when we were supposed to be spending time together. I don't think I need to explain how annoying it is to take your wife out to dinner to watch her stare at her phone at all night. So I let her know I was uncomfortable with it. She was starting to neglect our relationship because of her phone. She flipped out and claimed I was fabricating problems because I wanted out. I didn't consider the possibility that she was deflecting. I just took the bait and got into an argument with her. I brought up the total lack of intimacy and how she'd basically brush me away if I tried to touch her or hug her. And I didn't drop the topic of her spending all her time on her phone. She just went into circles and kept blaming me for everything. Things were tense after that. She eased up on her phone use, but there was some distance between us. That's when I realized just how serious the issues in our relationship were. Talking to her should have been the simplest solution, but it felt like it was out of the question after the last fight we had. I strongly considered couples counseling, even though it went against my personal beliefs. I got stuck trying to make a decision, so I met up with my best friend, Adam, to talk things through. I told him everything, and he was quiet throughout. As soon as I was done, he said, "She's cheating on you, man." I didn't want to believe it, but as soon as he said that, the pieces started falling into place in my mind. It made too much sense. He told me to keep my cool and find proof first. There was no point in blowing up my marriage over a false accusation. He said the easiest way to get proof would be to go through her phone for messages from another guy. That made sense to me, but it sounded like it would be too hard. She was so protective of her phone these days. We spent some time trying to come up with a way for me to get her phone, but she was too protective of it. We concluded that I'd just need to bide my time and wait for the perfect opportunity, even if it took weeks. Thankfully, it only took 3 days, but in that short time, I felt like I didn't know who she was. It was like living with a stranger. I knew she was cheating. I was certain of it now. The only thing that was keeping me from kicking her to the curb was waiting for my chance to get proof. That chance came up when she was in the shower. She usually took her phone into the bathroom with her, but this time she left it charging beside the bed. The moment I heard the water running, I scrambled for her phone. She took long showers, so I had time. Besides, I'd know if she was coming if I heard the water turn off. I hesitated for a bit before I unlocked her phone. It might sound dumb, but it felt like I was doing something wrong by checking. Like I was turning her infidelity from a hypothetical situation into a reality. Of course, I knew that wasn't true. Whatever she'd done had already happened, and checking her phone wouldn't change that. Still, I had to swallow a tinge of guilt when I unlocked her phone and started scrolling through her messages. For a moment, I couldn't find anything out of the ordinary, and I felt a bit of relief creeping in. I'd never been so happy to be wrong. The feeling was short-lived, though. My delusion completely shattered when I saw her messages with someone called Brian. That was the moment everything became real. I felt sick. She'd slept with a guy the day before. She'd been sleeping with him when she was out getting groceries, almost twice a week. And here she'd been driving me crazy, trying to pin all of our problems on me. There was enough spite here to keep me scrolling and screenshotting, just to make sure I had all the evidence I needed. She tried to gaslight me into thinking I was the one destroying our marriage. I was going to take her down. I didn't get everything I needed all at once. I heard the shower stop, and I closed the app to put her phone back where I'd found it. Then I left the room. She came out a few minutes later and seemed to have no idea that I'd touched her phone. I told Adam about what I'd found, and he sympathized with me. I ranted and screamed for nearly an hour, and he listened patiently. When I got it all out of my system, he told me that I couldn't end things just yet. He reminded me that men get wrecked in divorces more often than not, and I needed to fully protect myself. That meant staying with her and pretending things were fine until I'd gotten all the evidence I needed. I knew he was just looking out for me, but I didn't think I could sleep another night in the same bed as her. He told me I just need to push through it. I'd probably get another chance to gather more evidence in the next few days, and then I could get rid of her. She still didn't have any idea that I knew what was going on, and it was hard trying to act like things were still normal. She was still close to her phone most of the time, so I had to wait a few more days until I got my next chance. And that brings us to last night. Just like the first time, she had her phone charging while she was in the shower. I went straight to her messages and captured the new ones, then went back to where I'd left off the last time. I got everything I needed with some time to spare. I considered coming out to her with the evidence right there, but I didn't want to make any decisions while I was mad. So I decided to talk to Adam first and get some advice on what to do next. But I thought I'd come on here and get a second opinion as well. There's no hope of fixing things. I'm not sticking with a woman who betrayed me and gaslighted me like that. I just want to do what I need to make sure I'm fully protected when the divorce starts. The grocery trips, the distance, the phone always glued to her hand. On their own, yeah, maybe they're not alarming, but altogether, it paints a pretty clear picture. You were gaslit hard, and the worst part is, she tried to flip it back on you like you were the problem for noticing the changes. No matter how many signs people think you should have seen, the truth is that when you love someone, really love them, it's natural to trust them. That makes you loyal. Update. It's been a while since my first post, and I thought I should come and update you guys with what went down. First of all, everybody was all in on me kicking her to the curb. As much as it hurt me to admit it at the time, that was the only option. So I got in touch with a divorce lawyer that handled things for a friend of mine. He came highly recommended, and so far he's been worth every penny. I'd recommend him here myself if I weren't trying to stay anonymous. For my next step, I wasn't going to let her touch another dime of my money. I got in touch with my bank and blocked her card that was linked to my account. Then I went to her joint account and pulled out every dollar, down to the penny, that I'd saved in there. There was a petty part of me that wanted to empty the whole thing, but my lawyer talked some sense into me. I could do that legally, but I'd be royally screwing myself when we went to court. So I took everything I was entitled to, and I had the transaction statements to prove it. But I wasn't done there. I even signed her out of our Netflix and Amazon Family account. I kicked her off every family plan I could think of. YouTube Premium, iCloud Plus, even Spotify. Petty, I know, but she wasn't family anymore, as far as I was concerned, and hopefully she'd get the message. She got the message loud and clear. When I got home that evening, she was quiet. Eventually, she asked me why I'd kicked her off of Netflix and iCloud. I laughed and asked her if that was all. She screwed up her face in confusion. I used to think that was cute, but now it just made her look stupid. I told her to check everything else she was signed into that I paid for. She didn't move. She just stood there and asked why I was doing this. I looked her straight in the eyes and told her that I was sure she knew why. She looked away from me and didn't say anything. Maybe she was ashamed, or maybe she was embarrassed. I didn't really care either way. All I knew was that I had an opening, and I wasn't going to let it slip. I told her flat out that I knew about Brian. I'd seen every disgusting message they sent each other. She just stood there with her head down while I vented out all the anger I'd been holding in. I brought up how she'd tried to gaslight me and claimed that I was the one who was tired of her relationship. She didn't say a thing until I called her an evil witch. Then she said, "Babe, please," with tears in her eyes. I didn't feel a bit of remorse. She caused me so much pain that I was glad to see her hurting even a little. I gave her a chance to speak. I'd said my piece, and I was interested in hearing how she tried to justify it. Her excuse? She was bored. She claimed she felt unfulfilled, and Brian was just a coping mechanism. She started some therapy gibberish about how some people seek self-destructive means of self-expression when they're depressed. I wasn't going to let her manipulate me with big words. I said if she wanted self-destructive release, she could take up drinking like everyone else. I hit her with the big guns after that. Her card had been canceled, and I'd pulled my money out of the joint account. Her eyes widened. She wasn't a strong earner, and she was an even worse saver. A significant chunk of the money in the joint account had been put there by me. I watched the realization hit her in real time. She was broke. I swear that moment almost made everything worth it. But I still wasn't done with her. I told her that she had to go. She wasn't spending another night under my roof. Now, she was begging me to reconsider. She kept claiming it was depression and that I was blaming her for a medical condition. That set me off. Not that I would have accepted it, but she hadn't even apologized. All she'd done was make excuses. Now she was blaming some convenient medical condition that she'd shown no signs of. That was the absolute last straw for me. If there was any hope of things going back to normal, it fizzled away after that. I told her there was nothing she could say that would change my mind, and she had until the evening to pack her stuff. If she didn't leave, I'd call her mom and let her know exactly what her daughter was up to. That got her. Her mom is her best friend, and she'd be devastated to know what her daughter had done. She said she'd start packing her stuff, but she asked me to take a few hours to think things over. I told her I'd been thinking about it every day since I found out, and my mind was set. She packed her stuff, and she tried to talk to me one last time before she left. I didn't give her a chance, and she left quietly. I found out where she was living when it was time to serve her with the divorce papers. She'd been staying with her mom, and she wasn't happy to have her there. Her mom was sad to see us broken up, and she suspected that her daughter was in the wrong because she was insisting to her mom that she couldn't call me. I could feel the tension in the house when I got there. Her mom tried to invite me in for a coffee, but I refused gently. I told her I was just there to deliver papers to Diane. She desperately tried to press me for some information, but I told her that it was up to her daughter to tell her what was going on. Diane came out to talk to me, and her mom went back in, but not before wordlessly shooting her daughter a nasty look. I was pleased to see that even her mom disliked her. Maybe I'd tell her what Diane had done later on, but for now, I enjoyed seeing the tension between them. Diane looked tired. She told me her mom had her sleeping on the couch until she opened up to her. I just told her that wasn't my business and handed her the papers. She sent them back to me, signed, 2 days later. The divorce process has been rough, even with all of the evidence on my side. Like I said, though, my lawyer knows what he's doing, and things have been pretty fair on my side so far. Diane is pushing for alimony, and my lawyer is fighting like hell to get that thrown out. He insists that she has no shot at it, and that she's just trying her luck. I'm inclined to believe him. He hasn't done me wrong so far. As for Diane, she's still living with her mom. She had to take up a second job to start saving to rent a new place. How do I know this? Her mom still calls me once in a while, trying to get me to spill about what happened between us. More than once, she's asked point blank if she cheated on me, and I've never denied it. I'm sure on some level she knows what happened, but it might be fun to confirm it for her one day. And I'm working on living life for myself now. I've moved out of our old place to a part of town that I actually like. I'm putting more focus on hobbies and interests that I left behind. I forgot how much I loved concerts before I got married. Diane always hated them. I went to one just last week, and I felt like I rediscovered a part of myself that I'd forgotten. Living through a divorce is hard, and I'm sure it won't be much easier afterwards. But every day I get better and better at coping with it. I'll survive and come out of this better. I'm not sure I can say the same for Diane. You gave her chances. You were honest. And when it mattered, you didn't let her manipulate the situation to get sympathy. She made her bed. You gave every opportunity to come clean, and she chose lies, excuses, and self-pity. Now she's the one left sleeping on her mom's couch. What would be the first thing you'd do if you found out your partner cheated? Let us know in the comments below. Thank you for joining us today on rSpace. Be sure to like and subscribe and hit that notification bell so you don't miss out on our next video. See you soon.